Welcome to the PHNX Coyotes podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Merrill here with Steve Peters and Craig Morgan, as always, and today we are very excited to welcome a special guest, the new and former, somehow at the same time, coach of the Tucson Roadrunners, Steve Potvin. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. Honestly, I love the intro. It is a little unique that you can have a coach come back after a season layoff. It's a unique situation for sure. And also, I have to mention on my intro, I'm not sure if everybody coming on can see it, but you're introduced as Leah and Craig as Craig and Steve Peters as Petey. I love it. When you've been around the game a long time, as long as Petey has, you almost forget your first name.
I know. You just get the one-word introduction now, Steve.
Yeah.
So makes it easier, two Steves.
That's right.
For sure.
Well,
when you get to
Coach.
When you get to be a celeb as big as Petey, you just go by one name. That's right.
That's exactly like Drake, Beyonce.
That's right. Right. So Steve, that's right. Steve, first off, congrats. Obviously, this is a big moment for you. And as we discussed, I just wrote the story on you. That's up as well. But you wanted to be a head coach. This was the goal. So how do you take this opportunity and run with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it was a goal. I think it was something that was in the back of my mind, but I didn't put it at the forefront, to be real honest with you. I think it's to run with it. I think you have to really put the Coyotes' ambition first. And, my growth second, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that's how you run with things. You just make sure that you follow the plan, you understand the plan, and then you have to just try to execute the plan. And really, I think it's relying on your staff, relying on your staff to really fill a lot of, some of the space that I couldn't do before with just me and John and Brady as a coach. Now we're going to have, another man there. And so I think it's going to be a real good shared responsibility. And I think it's going to be very, very crucial for our players to be able to get so many more touches from the coaching staff.
All right. Before Petey and Leah started on the serious questions, I know that you're eventually going to be moving into Jay Verity's old apartment in Tucson, which is a fantastic location, by the way. I ran into him at that coffee shop nearby at one point. And this will reduce the insane commute that you have been doing for a very long time from the Valley to Tucson that Connor Garland talked about in the story. We got to ask, did Jay leave the place clean? Did he bother to clean it for you before you moved in?
He didn't. I haven't been able to get into the apartment just yet. I did ask him if he could just leave his shoes there so I could move into not only his apartment, just right into his shoes. Yeah. And then I asked him, it's probably a long drive for his car. I thought maybe he could just leave me his truck. That would be a nice thing for me.
People know Jay. Like, Jay lives out of his trunk. Like, he's been coaching his entire life, and it's have whistle will travel. So I don't know if he ever just completely unpacks. Coach Potvin, question from me. We had you on a year ago, and you had the you had the season where you were the head coach and you had to take a step back, and Jay came in and assumed that his role as head coach again. That was an interesting time for you. You had to reassess what your position was with the organization, where you were mentally. And I have to say, your approach helped you get back to where you are today. So your second kick at the can as the head coach of the Roadrunners. Did you learn something the first time? Is this going to be a different approach coming into day one because you've been there before? What are the things that have helped you that will help you the second time through?
Yeah, honestly, the first time through, you're kind of trying to figure out your voice and what works for you. And, there's a little bit of a feel out process. I think coming in your second time, there's no longer a feel out process. You have a pretty good understanding of what works, and you've come closer to finding your voice. And so I think from that perspective, I'm going in with a little bit more confidence, knowing that I think I understand the buttons to push at the right times, and having that year to step back and be an assistant also offered me the opportunity to see somebody else do it. And, kind of picture what that would look like if it were me up there. And from that standpoint, I'm so appreciative that I had the opportunity to be the head first, and then to be able to step back and then really observe and be prepared for my next opportunity. And I feel so much more confident and prepared because of it.
Can you speak to some of the challenges ahead, both for this season and the coming seasons, down the road, as we're going to see some of the Coyotes' like highest end prospects come through Tucson? What are some challenges that you're expecting to face in the season and the next couple?
Yeah, I think it's always about managing expectations. I think when you have a certain measure of success in junior or in college or wherever you've played before, you have a real understanding of how you've had success in the past. And, we want you to actually, bring your truest version of yourself first, and we'll pick away at your game. But I think a lot of it is managing expectations and then trying to conform the player to playing a more of a pro style game. And, sometimes it's just little minor tweaks, and sometimes it's just some habits that you have to change off the ice. And we're there just to make sure that we follow the right path and they understand what their expectations should be along with what ours are.
Steve, next season is going to be another jumbled roster. We just talked about, maybe when some of those high-end prospects start coming in, but I know you don't view it this way, but maybe fans see this as maybe another season of limbo while we wait for more of those prospects to come into the system. But what are your immediate expectations for this roster, for this season, and what can you still accomplish with this group that you're going to have this year from a development standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's real important not to look too far ahead. And as you said, I want to worry about the moment and, the day-to-day process this season. But honestly, our expectation is to bring this team to the playoffs, and we want to win the first round, and we'll see how it goes from there. But we want to get this group to the playoffs, and it's important for the growth of our culture. We have to bring that winning atmosphere and attitude back into our locker room, and make sure that our guys really understand that good isn't going to quite make it. We have to really get to the position where we're great, and that's going to get us to the next place.
Let's dive into that a little bit more, because the AHL is clearly a developmental league for us. That's why it's there. But both Bill and John talked about it yesterday in the news conference. You've talked about it. How do you balance the importance of winning games and really raising those prospects in a winning culture so that they're used to it and they know what the expectations are? How do you balance that with the need for playing time for some of those young prospects, development, making sure they're getting enough time in those areas?
Well, I guess there's a couple ways you can look at that. I mean, development, a lot of people can view development in so many different ways. It can be how much ice time they get, how much skill development they get in practices, how they learn to win, and I think our approach has to be all of it. I think we have to be really, really dialed in off the ice. We have to be really dialed in on the ice with the skills. And honestly, I don't think it can be free for these guys. If it's free and they're just getting, unlimited ice time, then I think we really stagnate their development curve. And we really have to put an emphasis on earning their next shift. And of course, we're going to put a certain number of minutes that we want to get them to, but you kind of eat what you kill, so to speak. So I don't think it can be free for the young guys. Otherwise, I think we just impede their forward progression.
Are we going to see that on a T-shirt, by the way? You eat what you kill. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I got to say I stole that from management.
Okay.
So, Coach, you talked about skill development. We know your background in history and being it's one of your strengths. We read Craig's article today about your skill development with Connor Garland. When did that start for you? Like, when did that button click? When you go, hey, I can help people with this. When did you know you could translate and communicate with players and help them with their skill development? Was it while you were still playing? Was it after? When did that light bulb come on?
I love what you said about communicating. I think, the portion of my skill development or, aspect of on ice skills was just a way to be able to get personal touches with the guys. there's so much dead time in between skills, and so you spark up a conversation right there on the ice, and you start to talk about what they're going through, and what they're doing off the ice, and the conversations just start to really flow in between the drills. So of course the drills and the on ice aspect is really important, but there's some time there to fill, and you really get to know each other, and you build a lot of trust, and quite honestly, and it's almost a bad thing to say, because the injury skates sometimes allow you to really connect with the players the most. And I found that when you're skating the injured guys, you're spending likely 30 minutes with them on the ice before the practice even starts, and it's just one-on-one. So, you really get to know the player, and then by the time they're ready to come back, I mean, the trust is earned, and we're seeing things eye to eye, and it's so much easier for us to communicate during the game, after the game, and we get a lot accomplished.
Have you had a chance to collaborate with Coach Tourigny about your plan and make it a cohesive plan between the NHL squad and the AHL squad, and if you have, how deep into it have you gotten?
You know what, the coaches in the NHL, a lot of time, a lot of them like to keep the information so close to their vest, and sometimes they don't really want to interact with the American Hockey League team. They've got a lot on their minds, and their schedules are full. But Andre honestly is one of the guys that really collaborates well with us. He brings us right in, and we feel like we're really a part of their family. And so the collaboration is high, the talk is high, and honestly, we're all on the same page, and we couldn't be any happier to have the relationship we have with Andre and his group. And we can call Stiller and Mar anytime we want. There's always good dialogue, and everybody feels at home when we're at the rink together. It's a great combination.
So that that plan that you have together as an organization, what are you trying to accomplish with your style of play for the teams and the overall approach to the game?
Bear has a list of fundamentals that we go through, and I think that's like the real foundational play of what we can expect the players to try to achieve on a day-to-day process in practice and in every game. We start from the ground up, and those fundamentals are all about creating space and support and those kinds of things. But if you're looking at our identity, we want to be a team that thinks fast and plays fast. We want to change fast, and we want a team that sticks together and is going to really outnumber teams. And if there's a situation where one's in trouble, we're all coming in to help. It's a real pack gang mentality.
You talk about that cohesion and collaboration and communication. You've worked with John Slaney for a long time. You're friends, you're partners, you have the similar voice, and you know how to approach each other. You're adding someone new this year with Zach Sturtini into the group and bringing a new voice and a new coaching style. Have you had a chance to meet with him and understand a little bit about who he is? And then how do you see him fitting into the mix with you and Coach John Slaney?
Well, that's the most fun part of it, actually. When you've been with the group for a long time, I mean, Jay's been in and out, but mostly for the last 3-4 years, we've all been together. And, when you're coming in as a new coach, sometimes you try to find little things in the locker room that you can change, like even the vitamins, the different label of vitamin, just for something different for the players to see. Well, they're going to see a 6'3" monster come in through the locker room, and honestly, that's going to be really refreshing and new. And he, we have had the opportunity to speak, and we meet on Zoom quite often, and his dialogue and his keywords are far different than what we've used in the past, but at the end of the day, it's the same result, and so we're looking forward to hearing a different voice, and honestly, it's going to be delivered differently. And so that's exciting. And then how he fits in our locker room, I think is great. When we look down the bench and we see the Bakersfield Condors at the time had Manson behind there, we all kind of hid behind each other. Now we know we're going to be hiding behind Zach.
Exactly.
So we've got some toughness behind the bench, but honestly, Zach is a guy that sees the game from a positive standpoint, and he sees the players from a positive standpoint first. And I know that he's a guy that's selfless and is going to be trying to really dig in with the players. And he's not a guy that's going to try to push himself on anybody. He's a guy that's going to be able to build those relationships that are so important.
Steve, you and I talked about your crazy playing career yesterday, which had stops in almost every hockey playing nation in the world. How did those myriad experiences benefit you first as a person, as a human being, and then how did they prepare you for this gig, which obviously you didn't know was coming at the time, but how might they benefit you?
It was massive. Our first year in Germany, I had to actually learn the language a little bit. So, if there's, we lived in a smaller town where they wanted you to push and speak German before they would even attempt to speak English. So, when you're in our little bubble in America and Canada, you're so used to doing things a certain way. And then you go to a different country, all of a sudden you have to adapt. Why would I go to Germany and expect them to understand my language? And so, you open up a little bit and you start to see like, hey, I have to unzip a little bit here and try some different things. And I think from that perspective, it was unique, and it was great to kind of dive in and learn different cultures, different languages, different foods. And then, when players come over here, it's just a real good icebreaker at times that, hey, I can speak to them in their language or talk to them about their food and their culture. And yeah, I think it just, opens up some good conversations, and it increases the dialogue for us.
I'm sure it just makes you have an understanding of their culture too, right? It can be just hockey related too. You understand the system of play in a different nation or the way they like to do things. So it's got to be a comfort for some of these guys when they come over.
Well, 100%. I went over as an import, where they're kind of coming in as an import. They're coming in and they're outnumbered. There's probably maybe one other player that's from their nation, and that can be hard. They're learning a different style. The rink is smaller. Where to eat, how to order. What's the norm, and so it's a lot easier when you've been on their side and exactly what they're going through during the day.
All right, Steve, I told you that we were hoping for some good stories from you. And I mean, you have a lot of places to choose from. You played in the OHL, the IHL, the ECHL, the AHL. You played in Europe. You even played with the Arizona Sundogs in Prescott Valley. What do you got for us?
You know what? I realized how boring I was when you said,
way to go, coach.
Can you come up with a story? And I was like, man, it actually took me until this morning, and I had to go out for a run to clear my head to search for a story. So the story goes like this. I'm about to leave America, and I was in Canada, at the time. I was leaving Canada, and I was going to Germany for the first time. And I go to the sports shop, and I get all of my equipment essentially reduced and lightened, because at the time, playing in North America was a real aggressive, hard-natured game. There was a lot of things that wouldn't belong in today's game. Anyway, I remember going to Germany in my first ever exhibition game, and a player gets absolutely smoked from behind right in front of our bench. And he's down on the ice, literally right in front of our bench, and he's trying so hard to get up. And our coach is right over top of him, screaming at him, "Get up!" He's screaming at him. And then next thing you know, one of our guys punches their guy. One of their guys jumps off the bench and comes over and starts talking to our bench. Next thing you know, one guy jumps over the bench, starts fighting. Another guy jumps over from their bench. God. And my first ever exhibition game, there's a bench clearing brawl in the first period.
Yeah. So much for the new style of
there
play.
You are in your hockey summer wear.
Exactly, in my summer wear. And the place is sold out because they had this promotion for some discount on beer. So the place is absolutely going insane. And I remember like looking up at my wife. I could see my wife, and I was just like, what the what the heck do we get ourselves into? Anyway, to make a long story short, it wasn't too long before I talked to the trainer and I got some bigger shoulder pads, because hitting from behind was actually almost like a good hit. So anyway,
were you involved in the bench clearing brawl?
Well, you know what? Like I have to say, I know I'm a smaller guy, but you were asked to do things and play a certain style just as the bigger guys would when I was in North America. And so my body had like really gone through some stuff, and I was kind of looking forward to playing a skilled game. You know, I didn't know even know what that looked like. I was like, yeah, I'm going to try this skilled thing. I think it's going to happen in Europe. So no, I wasn't involved. I actually hung on. Well, I found a guy, I think he had a loop earring, and I knew I was safe.
My gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we've touched on your playing experience and how diverse it was. So what led you to decide to pursue coaching, and like how did you get to this point where you are now as a head coach in the American Hockey League?
Yeah, you know what? I just always had an interest in it, and I always wanted to be a leader on the team, and I wanted to be depended on, and I remember wanting more responsibility all the time, and I think it just evolved, and I remember I had a coach in Europe that started using me a little bit more. I was lucky; he thought I would make a good captain, and he would ask me to actually run some meetings. He's like, hey, listen, I want you to start the meeting today. So it's going to be your voice. And he I didn't understand really what he was asking me to do. I didn't know how to communicate. And he was like, listen, just actually start with yourself first. And so, I just started talking with the team, and it started kind of evolving from there. And I thought maybe there could be something after hockey, and after hockey, the opportunity came up, and I didn't want to stay in Europe, and I wanted to come back home and set some grassroots for my kids, and I wanted them to have a stable place to live. But then my son started playing minor hockey, and I remember the director of the Coyotes Association called me, Mike DeAngelis, and asked me if I'd be interested in coaching, and of course I jumped on it, and it wasn't long before I started coaching 2 teams, and then it wasn't long before I started running the skill sessions for the organization, and then I was, doing some D skill sessions, and I ended up being on the ice sometimes 20 hours a week, and then it just grew from there, and I got the opportunity to become a skills coach with the Coyotes, and that was fun. But for me, there was always that want and that desire to become a coach, and luckily I got that opportunity, and here we are today.
Coach, I've known you for a long time, and you're a guy you look at the positive side of life. Things are good, and things are happy, and you try to find this, the silver lining, and all of the things that help make you what you are as a coach and how you communicate. One, where does that come from? Where does that come from in your life? That positive vibe, that positive attitude. And 2, through all the BS, how are you feeling right now? Like, what does this mean to you personally, and how are you feeling? Are you excited? What are your emotions right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I remember playing, and I was 28, I think it was. I was 28 years old. My wife had a miscarriage. I had my dream job in Switzerland. I remember breaking my foot and then being out for 8 weeks. Sorry, 8 weeks. Yeah, 8 weeks. And then I lost my job. I lost my position. And I was really down. I was up, I wasn't happy about it. And then I got another job in Sweden. And once I got to Sweden, my first game, I got a concussion. And so, things kind of were streaming negatively, and I wasn't feeling very good. And I remember the next day we were playing a top level team that if we won, we put ourselves in a better position for the playoffs. And I remember the coach asking me, I just had a concussion. He said, listen, I just want you to take face-offs, and I want you to kill penalties. So of course I go out there on my first PK, I lose the face-off and I block a shot, and then I break my foot again. So I was in a good spot, and I was 28, and we wanted to have kids. I wanted to grow a family, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get a job. And so I was really depressed. I had just come off of an 8-week. I switched from my dream job in Switzerland to Sweden. I break my foot. I'm going to be out for another 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. And I remember this trainer, he was English. He was from New York, actually, and living in Sweden. And you could see that I was down in the dumps, and he handed me a book, and I wasn't really a big reader, but it was the same book that my coach had handed me when I was 17 years old,
Wow.
ironically. And I didn't read it at the time when I was 17. So he gave me this book about, personal growth and psychology. And I said to myself, well, I better read this book, because this is the second time somebody has given me this. And I was really down. And honestly, from that standpoint, when I started reading and actually implementing a lot of what the book was trying to help me with, I took off and went on a whole other planet, to be real honest with you. So I dove into something that I hadn't ever experienced before, and I just saw life in the game so much easier, and it made an unbelievable impact on me. And from that standpoint, I couldn't wait to share it with everybody, but that also, it's not for everybody. So, you have to be able to pick your spots, but having gone through it, you can read when somebody's going through a down period. And how I'm feeling right now is, I've got every emotion a person, I think, should have in this situation. I'm hungry. I'm both anxious. I'm both confident. I've got some real things that I want to try and can't wait to implement. And then, you've got that nervous feeling because you want to really succeed. And that's the stuff that actually drives you. And that's when, you're in it, when you have that little, uncertainty sometimes in your belly, and you can't wait to put that project in place. And I'm so looking forward to it. And honestly, Peter, you asked about Slains and how that group is going to be. I'm looking forward to working with Slains again, and really trying to build the culture from where we were and just take it another step up. We've been together for such a long time. He can order my sandwich and I can order his dinner. But I'm looking forward to really attacking this next season.
Steve, you just talked about this transformation that you went through to sort of more of a positive approach to the game and to life. And when I talk to Connor Garland, and other players have said this about you as well, that comes through. I know you like to share your life experiences with them, but how are you able to connect with players on a personal level? What's driving that? What enables you to connect on such a personal level with so many players?
Yeah, I think it's the experience and being true to the moment and the feel. I know exactly, it could be great what they're going through. It could be, something they need help with, on or off the ice, or relationships. I mean, we've all been through those. All of us at this stage of our lives, we have experience. And I think the biggest thing, or sometimes you're afraid to share your own story because you don't want to appear weak, and sometimes that message, for my kids, I want to tell them how many times I felt weak in those situations. And if I had just done this, and if I had done that, maybe it would have helped me, and I would have had a clearer perspective on how to achieve it. And, we're always trying to grow, internally ourselves. And so, that's how I think the connection is made, is not trying to come from a standpoint of telling them how to do it. It's just telling them, hey, this is the feeling that you have is exactly the feeling I had, and here's how I dealt with it. And it could have been wrong, and here's what I would have done knowing now, so we're trying to really shorten the curve for them. And just through our experience, we can do that. We can share it with them.
When you drill down, and I know this is going to evolve over time because coaches evolve, right? They learn from their experiences and they change their approaches or they modify them. But right now, at this stage of your career, What would you say are the core tenets of your coaching philosophy?
The core tenets. Yeah, I think it's, you have to be relentless. I think you have to be relentless. You have to show that passion and that desire every day. The players got sick of me saying this, but I'm after 1% every day. And so for me, I have to be able to show that 1% also. And, you got to be willing to do 10 times more than your opponent, 10 times more than what you're maybe normally used to doing. And so I have to show that type of passion and determination also. And then the other thing is, just seeking the truth. We talked about this yesterday, but I'm a firm believer in not being afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the truth. And sometimes when you meet the truth head on, that's when you can establish some growth. And that's what I'm after every day. Just seek the truth, stay on the course. Let's get after it.
Last question for me. What does the next month look like for you before the Coyotes start camp and then Tucson camp is after that? So what's the next month or two look like for you?
Yeah, meeting the players, now that everything's been announced, I want to speak with the players that are first the AHL contracted players. I want to speak with them and get to know them, set the expectations and standards pretty early, make sure that we're all on the same page. And then, it's just all about the schedule, trying to fine tune the schedule. Jake Wagman is doing a tremendous job on it. He's on every little detail, and we're just trying to iron out any little kinks that we see in the schedule, because honestly, that's an advantage. If we can get the guys home earlier and spending time in their beds at night earlier, or, if we can manage, where we practice, how we practice, or if we work out on certain days is really important. So we're just trying to manage the schedule. And then it's just ironing out our structure with our new staff member. We're trying to get ahead of the power play and try to get some of the key structure pieces that he needs to know and be aware of, and, make sure that we're all off on the same page and we're all off the ground really running.
Coach, you talked about the schedule, and unfortunately for you, possibly, if you look at the PHNX schedule, this is Friday. And one of the things we do on Friday, you're not getting off the hook here, because one of the things we do on Friday is we try to have a little bit of fun, and we talk about what are we going to do this weekend, specifically, what are we going to watch on TV, and we call it our weekend binge. So before you leave us today, the last thing I want to know is whether it's you with your family or you on your own, can you give us a TV show or a movie that we should, could, or want to binge this weekend?
I love it. I again had to dig in. This is a dig in question for me, because I'm spending all my time on the schedule and all
Yes.
and, hockey. So
yeah, we won't tell Bill you're actually watching TV. So
don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
That's why we're having this meeting here in the gym.
Exactly.
Right after I'm going to work out. But I was not at all interested in Game of Thrones.
Oh no.
It was 2011, I think it came out, right?
Yeah,
I watched it.
Sure.
I
don't remember.
When you start talking about dragons and all this stuff, it doesn't really appeal to me. I saw no real reason to watch this. This is never going to happen with dragon. Anyway, but I started watching it, and I was hooked on it, and I watched all of it during COVID. But I think the spinoff is this weekend.
Leah knows.
This weekend, right?
Leah's
The
got it on her
21st?
calendar.
It's the 21st.
Yep.
Right.
House of Dragon or something
Right.
like that.
Exactly what
Yeah.
it is.
So
Really?
that's-
All three of you? Really?
That's right.
It's
Pete,
dragons.
well, sorry, buddy. We already set up a party. You're not coming, obviously. We knew you would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lose
Yeah.
the invite, dragons.
Yeah.
And elves.
It's a reason it's one of the most popular TV
I know,
shows ever.
Coach.
Right.
Well, I
So you're
appreciate it, Coach.
going to be on
See,
board
that's
for
good.
that then, huh, Potts? You're going to watch the spinoff then? You ready for
I'm
it?
not going to watch it. I'm going to wait until
There's more.
There's more, and then I can watch it all at once. I can't wait till
Can't
the
do
next
a
week.
Wait for the week. You can't
I
Isn't
do
won't
that
be able to
funny how
focus.
that's changed though? Like it didn't used to be this way. We would have to wait, and now
Have to wait.
nobody's willing to wait a week to watch the show. I agree with you though. The continuity makes so much of a difference.
So much of a difference.
Yeah.
But it ends up it takes over your life when you do that. So I'll wait until the off season. I do have one story to share with you about Jay and his truck. The funny part about, you said he's always kind of moving, and I don't think his truck he's probably stayed in one place for a long. Anyway, one off season he kept his car in Kingston, and there was a homeless person living in the back of his truck when he came back.
No.
So anyway, I thought that would be a good weekend.
Yeah,
send
awesome.
Also. So,
Awesome.
Anyway,
Oh
it was
my
a pleasure
gosh.
it was a pleasure being on, guys. I appreciate the time. And
Yes, thank you
thanks
so much. Thanks so much
the
for
article,
taking the
Craig.
time.
Yeah, and Potsy, be ready, because you're not off the hook yet, because Leah and I will be going back for the second season of Down the I-10. So we're going to be checking in on the Roadrunners, checking in on you, checking in on the franchise. We're hoping to make another trip down there. I know we're going down
preseason,
there
right?
in
We're going for
preseason.
preseason.
We're
Yeah.
going to be down in Tucson for preseason. So we and by the way, mini donuts are on you at the TCC, because those are electric.
I heard there's a vegan. There might be an option for vegan donuts, so I'll bring you a dozen.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
We
Thanks.
could do a taste test. That could be our taste test. Well, thank you so much, seriously, for taking the time. It was great catching up with you. And like PD said, hope to have you back on again. I think Jay Verity was our most reoccurring guest on last year's PHNX Coyote show. So you could be next in line there. So thank you so much. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Look forward to it, gang. Have a nice
See you,
weekend.
Steve. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Bye now.
Bye. Well, thank you again to Tucson Roadrunners head coach Steve Potvin. Amazing interview, amazing person. It really, really comes through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think people had heard some of this story already, but when Connor Garland was coming up, just some of the things that Potts did to help him. But it was fun revisiting that with Connor, who, by the way, is still one of the best quotes I've ever covered. Just unbelievable insight hit from him. But you can find, probably 10 other players who can speak to the same experiences with Steve Potvin. And I think that was one of the central themes that both Bill Armstrong and John Ferguson laid out for wanting to put this guy in charge. As Bill said, you need a guy who can be firm, but there also has to be a likability factor. And Steve Potvin absolutely has that.
Yeah, we talk about coaches here. We talked about Tourigny being the right coach at the right time for the Coyotes. I think Steve Potvin's the right coach at the right time for the Tucson Roadrunners. I think you'll get a consistent message, but he's also he's loyal to the franchise, communicates extremely well, and it came across in this interview, he's a positive, good human being. And we say that over and over and over again. When you work with somebody, no matter what field of endeavor you're in, most importantly, you want to work with good people, and he starts the top of the list as a good person. So I can't wait to see the season they have. And unfortunately, their season is so dependent on what happens up here in Arizona. So you can't say, gosh, they're a playoff team. You don't know. I mean, half the roster could be decimated again, and they're all up here. So you just want him to have a successful year for him, meaning developing players to make it to the National Hockey League. But it was great having him on.
Yeah, we've had this conversation before about how coaching has evolved over the last, 30 or so years. And it went from tough coaches, yelling at players, to really caring about them as people. And that's what really came through for me about him. It's also what came through for me when we talked to Coach Tourigny. And it really, really comes through in Craig's story. So if you haven't had the chance to read it, it was an amazing story. Steve Potvin even said it brought tears to his eyes reading it. Some great quotes. So check it out at gophnx.com if you haven't already. And if you're not a member, become a member today. Super easy. Just sign up for an annual membership. You can grab a shirt from the PHNX Locker, or try your first month, just 50 cents if you want to give it a shot. But it's definitely worth the read at gophnx.com. And also, I was perusing DraftKings while we were talking to Coach Potvin because I was curious about the Tucson Roadrunners odds. The AHL odds are not up there yet, probably because, rosters aren't really finalized and it's hard to have them out there, but they will be there. There's so many hockey leagues on DraftKings. You would be shocked. Probably every European league that Coach Potvin played in, I think is on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So check it out if you haven't already, and I'll let you know when those Roadrunners odds get on there, because we'll see. It's kind of a crapshoot, like we said. It's really dependent on what happens with the Coyotes, but you can't bet on that now. You can bet on college football now, and the current offer at DraftKings Sportsbook is if you bet just $5 on college football, you can get $200 in free bets instantly using the promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And we're going to do our DraftKings pick of the week. And Sean is not going to bring himself in, but he did text me his pick of the week. So I'm going to read it. And he also gave me a whole reasoning behind it. So this is the DraftKings pick of the week, courtesy of Sean. The St. Louis Cardinals money line, -180. And this is what he said. I'm reading it word for word. I'm watching him laughing below.
What, does he having a bad hair day or what?
No, it's too loud in his house.
Oh, okay.
All right. They're playing the D-backs tonight, and I plan on going. This is Sean. Paul Goldschmidt is back in Arizona, plus the series is the last time future Hall of Famers Molina, and I don't know, Sean. Pool.
Yeah.
I'm not. Will be in Arizona. Too much firepower on the Cardinals going up against rookie D-backs pitcher Tommy Henry. Cards are better, and they have the crowd and emotion on their side, likely. So that's Sean's DraftKings pick of the week. He's giving me shit over text. So if you want to tell Sean, do so on the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
I want to know what's going on in Sean's house that he can't even join us on the show.
You heard it before.
I did. It was chaos.
Yeah, chaos. So
Okay. All right.
Anywho.
Yeah.
Go
We
ahead,
were
Craig.
talking about binging, and Petey made a rec, I think to me, just via text message about maybe a week ago, Petey.
I did. And I was scared because it's a different show.
Buddy, I mean, for a Friday fun day, that's not the show to be recommending. But I will say this. Petey's like, yeah, you might want to check it out. It's a dark show. I watched the first season. I watched all 3 seasons in less than a week.
You've got to be. You went back and watched. You even watched season 2?
I even watched season 2, which you said it was the
What-
lesser of the
what
3
show?
seasons. I watched it.
What show?
The Sinner. It's got Bill Pullman in it, but it's
The Sinner.
It's not only is it dark, but it's got some crazy like literary depth to it, like with Nietzsche and the eternal return and the Ubermensch, and then it's got like Greek mythology in it with Theseus. I was like, oh my god,
It's
this
dark.
is some
It's
dense
deep
stuff, Petey.
Yeah. This isn't going to go get you. Don't crack open a beer and go, yay, this is a fun weekend. No, this is woo. And that first season is.
No Love Island UK.
No, that is definitely
No,
not Love
no.
Island. Well, I'm glad you got it through there, Craig. That's
All 3
amazing.
seasons just like that. So
Well, that's your binge.
Yep.
that was my binge. Yeah,
What do
Well,
you
you
got?
ready for mine?
sure.
This is Kevin can himself. Yeah, it's Kevin can F himself on Amazon Prime. Kevin can F himself. And
Okay.
I tell you what, I don't know how I found it or why. What's the actress from Schitt's Creek? The daughter, Annie Murphy, is the star
Okay.
of the show. And it starts off as a sitcom. And you're going, oh, okay, I don't need a sitcom. For 5 minutes. Whenever the husband is on, it's a sitcom. It looks like a sitcom. It's a live audience, fake laugh track, all of that. As soon as he leaves the room, it's dark, it's gritty, it's a drama, and the cameras change. It looks like a real house then
Interesting.
instead of a set. And her life is miserable and depressing and dark. And anytime's Kevin there, everything's just, it's funny with a laugh track. It's unbelievably different. I've never seen anything shot like this, filmed like this. If you start it, you need to stay past the first 5 minutes because you'll go, okay, this is a dumb sitcom. And as soon as she goes into the kitchen, you're like, oh my God, this is totally not what I expected. So something different and moderately dark when Kevin's not on film. And she really wants to tell Kevin to go F himself. So something different on Amazon Prime. Kevin, go F yourself.
Interesting. Okay. You
Alright.
always have really good recommendations. I'm horrible at this segment. And it's funny because I love watching TV. I just think I've been too busy. Like I'm just too busy and I don't really have time to watch a lot of TV. I'm on episode 53 of Love Island UK season 8. That's not hyperbole. I'm literally on episode 53. And that's really all I got. I did finish Westworld last weekend. Excellent, mind-blowing, confusing. Always I have to go on Reddit every time I finish an episode of that show just to have people explain to me what just happened. So if you haven't checked out Westworld season 4 or Westworld at all, do it. And like we said last week, you just have to power through season 3 because season 4 is worth it. So that would be my weekend binge.
I need something lighter.
Love Island UK.
Not that late.
Not quite that late.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go for one. We've talked about it before, and Leah watched both seasons. Did you ever? And I can't. So everybody turn their volume down because I don't want them to know I'm watching this. But with my wife, I'm watching Bridgerton season 2.
Yes.
Have you been through Bridgerton yet?
Yes.
Yeah, my kids watch it. Yes.
Have you watched season 2 yet?
No.
Okay, I'm just telling you, it's sit down with your wife, grab a bowl of popcorn.
Soap opera.
That's not though. It's a drama with a little bit of humor. Good characters. It's with
It
your
is.
wife.
It is.
It's a palate cleanser from the Sinner for sure.
So speaking of dark, I know you've seen Nope at least, Leah. Have you seen Nope yet, Petey?
I have not.
Okay,
It's a theater thing, and I'm not going to the theater.
Yeah, and I love going to theaters. But anyway, I started watching a movie last night. What?
I'd have to leave the house if I have to go to the theater. Why would I leave my house?
Started watching a movie last night with Christian Bale called The Machinist.
Oh my God.
Where he literally lost 60 pounds in 4 months for this role. So I get 20. Oh my God. You want to talk about dark, buddy. 20 minutes in that first gory scene, I was like, nope, I can't do this tonight. I'm going to go back to it because he's fantastic. But wow, is that
if you haven't seen The Machinist, Leah, dark. Oh, dark. Yeah, this isn't an uplifting film either. Really depressing and dark. But the acting performance of Christian Bale has to be one of the top 5 all time. The commitment to a role when he lost, and Craig said he lost 65 pounds, he looks skin and bones because this character is going through some things that when he takes his shirt off, you're like, oh my God, that's not real. No, it's real. The commitment to this role, phenomenal. The symbolism, the imagery, remarkable. The Machinist. Highly recommend The Machinist.
He got down to 120 pounds. I read 120. Can you imagine that?
It's unreal. It's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Okay. I've seen some good suggestions in the chat too. Thank you. I will add them to my list. I really need some more shows on the docket. So if you do binge a movie or a TV show, be sure to crack open a Four Peaks when you do. Great combination. We'll be at Four Peaks on Wednesday, August 31st for our monthly Last Wednesday. Join us all day at Four Peaks for good fun food and beer. There'll be drink specials. All of the shows will be out there all day. PHNX Coyotes is first up live at 11 a.m. on that day. So join us then. And speaking of Last Wednesday, we'll be announcing our next winner of the Toast of the Month sweepstakes then. You can enter to win a $50 Four Peaks gift card, a PHNX shirt of your choice, and a PHNX annual membership. Go to gophnx.com or click on the link in the show notes. You must be 21 or older and enjoy responsibly. I'm headed to our new office after the show.
I'm actually going to go. Did our beer make it? Because it was concerned.
We did move the beer.
Okay.
And we will have a fridge for food and we will have a fridge for beer.
That's all that matters.
So I'm really excited because we got a furniture delivery today.
I know.
I saw the photos. Wow.
Did you see that?
And oh my gosh. The setup in this new office is unreal. And we have to give a shout out to More Furniture because they literally hooked up our entire new office, new studio, new furniture. We got a whole new viewing area to watch games. Unbelievable. Thank you so much to More Furniture. If you're interested in checking out their Labor Day sale, go to morefurniture.com. But check it out because I can't wait for our shows to be back in studio so you can see this office. And maybe once everything's set up, we'll do a little video tour for social because it's unbelievable. Another thing I did yesterday in setting up was take out all of the bobbleheads that we have in our office and lined them up. And we have so many, but the Coyotes ones are severely outnumbered. So I'm going to order us some more from Foco because that's where you get your bobbleheads if you're not getting them as a giveaway at a game. So if you have any suggestions for me, you can send me links for Coyotes bobbleheads we should have in the office. Check out Foco. We've got you covered in the best Arizona sports merchandise. They have officially licensed gear for men, women, and kids, and everything from bobbleheads to swimsuits to Crocs. Head on over to foco.com or click the link below in the description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHNX for 10% off. I about how the office is coming along.
Yeah, that's
I haven't
sweet.
seen it.
Good.
Go on Slack, buddy. You'll see the recliners
I know,
and the
I just saw
chairs,
it.
and it's just so sweet. So
That's why I'm
Oh,
going today.
yeah,
I'm
very
taking the
excited
headphones
about
off and
this.
I'm driving down.
Very excited for you guys to get everything situated so that I can come
So you
in
can
after
roll
I've
in.
recovered from my surgery and just
And
relax.
just sit back in the recliner
Yeah,
seat.
the red carpet and the rose petals, and Craig can finally come into the office.
Will there be rose petals? Because
Big
Is
surprise.
that in your contract?
Bougie Craig.
forgot to write that one in, but I wouldn't mind it if you guys want to do
The
it. when I walk in.
Pellegrino.
Yeah. I need some
Oh.
entrance music too. What should my entrance music be?
Yeah, we should get Craig entrance.
That's
Is he get
hilarious.
elevator Craig again? Have we confirmed that there will be elevator? We've seen the elevator.
We've
'cause
seen
been
the
to
elevator.
the building. But there will. Sooner
Wow.
than you may
It's
think.
been a
Perfect.
minute since we've seen that. Oh my
Sean, the pause with a huge gap.
On cue. Yep.
Unreal. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we
Of course.
head into the weekend?
We've talked about it, glossed over it because the Americans lost. The World Juniors does
Yeah.
wrap up this weekend, Friday and Saturday night. Canada's a huge favorite over the next 48 hours. I can't imagine they don't
They
walk
play
away
at
with
1
it.
o'clock, I think.
So tune in, watch that if you want to. Watch Connor Bedard, future Arizona Coyote, and his. Wait, can you say that, or is it too soon?
No, you just say it, and then the
In the
universe will
universe.
say, "Yeah,
Positive
you're right."
thinking. I like it.
Okay.
You got to
Future Coyote,
speak it
Connor
into
Bedard.
existence.
I like
At
it.
some point, the odds have to be in their favor, right? At some point.
Craig, you've seen the odds of losing that many. Like, it's beyond astronomical
It's
how many. To
nuts.
lose the number of lotteries that this team has lost is astronomical. Like, it's unbelievable. So they're due.
Listen,
They
Future
are
Coyote.
due.
if they don't, Adam Fantilli will do just fine. He's a very, very good center as well. So we'll just, they're going to get a great player in this draft. They're going to get a great player in this draft.
Speaking of this, the people have voted on Twitter, and the winner was #ShitTheBedard.
Shocking.
I don't know if you want to go with that. Technically, it's not a democracy. We can decide whatever we want. But thank you to everybody who voted on Twitter. It was a fun little competition there. So
We're going to have to go with it.
I think that'll be a graphic though. Can we do it with the asterisks and the S asterisk
Sure.
T? We can make a thing.
we can make it a
Yeah.
thing. And for
Yeah.
Connor Bedard, if you're ever listening, it's not an insult to you. It's actually a compliment that we want to shit the bed for you. So
Yeah, and I think
Let's
that
do
we can do that on our post game shows for sure because it's 11 o'clock at night. Maybe our
Exactly.
11 a.m.
PHNX Coyotes After Dark.
Yeah, we'll call it something else in the daytime. That's
Two
fair.
things I want to address before we head out. One, a lot of people have asked me, hey, how come there was no reporting from the Tempe City Council meeting? Well, that's because all of the findings that city staff put together, all of their research, and even any maybe progress that they've made with the Coyotes on negotiations, that was all discussed in executive session. That is not open to the public. That is not open to media, and council members are not permitted to discuss what has gone on in executive session. That's why there's nothing coming out of it. But that meeting did occur yesterday. They did get presented with those findings. So we'll see when the next bit of information leaks out. But again, remember, we had Randy Keating on our show, and he said, ideally we get this done by Halloween, maybe by the holidays, but ideally by Halloween so we can have a robust public process on it. People can't participate as much during the holidays. So that's the goal of the council. So lay that out there. The other thing, the Jakob Chychrun rumors to Ottawa. Oh my God. I thought I put out just sort of an innocuous tweet, and then it gets attacked by Ottawa fans who think that they know what's going on. They think they know the Coyotes' mind. I'm going to say this yet again. The Coyotes have not yet received an offer that has convinced them they're going to move Jakob Chychrun. That offer's not on the table. No matter what you've heard, that deal is not on the table, okay? So until they get one that's commensurate with what Bill Armstrong believes Jakob Chychrun's value is, they're not going to trade him. This has been his MO ever since he arrived here. I know it's a short tenure, but if you look at how he has held firm on all of his acts, he hasn't budged. Look at Darcy Kemper. Look at Christian Dvorak. I can name a bunch of these. He hasn't budged. The reason you don't, it's twofold. And I know people say, well, there's a risk that Jakob Chychrun won't be any good this season and his value will drop. You're right. There's always risk associated with these sorts of trades, but you don't trade a devalued asset. That is a basic tenet of asset management. They're not going to take him at what they think is a lesser value. It's not going to happen. No matter what you're reading elsewhere, it's not going to happen. Secondly, they don't need to. Jakob Chychrun's under contract for 3 more years. They can bring him back here. There's no urgency to this. I know some people think, oh my God, he's going to be discontent. He's going to ruin camp. I don't think that's going to happen. That's happened probably with some other players. I really don't think that's in Jakob Chychrun's makeup when it comes down to it. I think that there would be a meeting of the minds at that point, and they would figure out something. But as I said before, there's not a deal on the table right now where Jakob Chychrun is going to be moved. And I read one tweet saying that financial pressure could lead the Coyotes to trade Jakob Chychrun. Like, what on earth are you talking about? We're talking about a team that's just over the cap floor and has already shown a willingness to take on bad contracts. They've been doing it a lot, but they're just over the cap floor. So what pressure are they facing to cut finances? If they trade Jakob Chychrun, they got to find a way to get back over the cap floor. That sort of analysis is just utter nonsense, just completely false. So don't believe it.
And this has been Rumor Roundup with Craig Morgan. That was excellent, Craig. Excellent. For more of that, follow Craig on Twitter at Craig S. Morgan, because he puts the record straight and often reports things. And I saw my friend Spencer replied to your tweet today. If a Coyotes reporter reports something and only Coyotes fans read it, like, does it really count? Or does it
that way sometimes?
Does it count to everybody else?
How many times do I have to address this?
Yeah, so that's kind of how it feels. But follow Craig because he has it all. Become a member at gophnx.com so you can read all of the reporting. Follow us on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes and follow PHNX Sports across all social platforms. Shout out to Sean and Shane for their latest shit show has dropped on the PHNX_Sun Devils Twitter account. It is hysterical.
It is.
Yeah, like give it a watch. It's so funny. So just follow PHNX Sports across all socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. We're all there. And one last thing before we leave, I realize I'm drinking from this water glass, and I don't know if you can see, but it's a PHNX Roadrunners cup.
Wow.
Coincidence?
This was a total coincidence.
Mine was not. I planned Dusty.
No, this was a coincidence. So
Let's go.
thank you again to Coach Steve Potvin for joining us on today's show, and we hope to have him back again soon. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thanks for chiming in the chat. Thanks for liking this video. Like it if you haven't already. Please leave us a review and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts as well. And we'll be back live on Monday on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Until then, enjoy your weekend, everyone.